Spain completed 800 passes. They dominated possession. They created chance after chance.
Rodri Cucurella backed over. Vozinha stayed at home and he's going to pay the price. No! It comes off the crossbar. The follow-up is saved!
By every football metric imaginable, this game should have been over by half-time. But when the final whistle blew, Spain had scored exactly 0 goals.
Cape Verde, in their first ever World Cup game, have just drawn 0-0 to one of the big favorites to win this entire thing, the reigning European champions.
Because standing between them and victory was a 40-year-old goalkeeper. From a tiny island nation that most football fans couldn't even find on a map. And what happened next shocked the entire World Cup. Vozinha was born in Cape Verde, a small island nation sitting off the northwest coast of Africa. The country has a population of around 530,000 people.
I feel very proud. For me, it's an honor to represent my country. We do this with passion, with love, because we are from a small country.
To put that in context, that's smaller than the population of Raleigh, North Carolina, smaller than most European cities.
Cape Verde is the smallest nation by area at the FIFA World Cup in its history. So the fact that they went toe-for-toe with Spain and kept them out, a team that many had as favorites to win the whole thing, is pretty remarkable.
This wasn't a football powerhouse sending a golden generation to the World Cup. This was a country of 500,000 people showing up at football's biggest stage for the very first time. And Vozinha had been there for almost all of it. He'd been part of the Cape Verde national team project for over 14 years. This wasn't a late call-up. Nobody pulled him out of retirement. He was there through the qualifying campaigns, the Africa Cup of Nations runs, the years when the World Cup was a dream and not a destination. He waited through all of it, kept showing up, kept playing, because one day it might actually happen. Meanwhile, his club career never reached the spotlight. He spent years in the Portuguese lower leagues, most recently at Chaves in the 2nd division, not the Bernabeu or Camp Nou. The kind of football where the stands aren't always full, and nobody's tracking your transfer value. And what was that transfer value, by the way? Before this game, Transfer Market had him listed at roughly £40,000. Spain's full squad was valued at around £1.4 billion. That gap isn't just money, it's a completely different world. The rest of the squad carried the same DNA. Pico Lopez, one of Cape Verde's centre-backs, plays for Shamrock Rovers in Ireland. He got into the national team because the Cape Verde manager reached out to him on LinkedIn, writing in Portuguese, asking if he'd like to represent the country. Lopez thought it was a scam. He didn't bother reading it.
And it is worth noting the story of that defender, Pico Lopez, who's in the center of defense. He is 33 years of age. He's a defender for Shamrock Rovers and has lived in Ireland. And the way that he got into the national team was the manager of Cape Verde reached out to him via LinkedIn in Portuguese and said, "Would you like to play for the Cape Verde national team?" This player, Pico Lopez, thought it was like spam. He didn't even bother to read it. He was like, well, what the hell is this?
9 months later, the same coach messaged him again, this time in English, to confirm the offer was real. Lopez said yes.
9 months later, the same coach reaches out to him in English and says, "No, that was a real offer. Are you interested in playing for us?" And so here he is now at the World Cup at 33 years of age and is kind of a hero in Ireland as a result. Obviously, Ireland out of the tournament, they came very close, but he's kind of a hero because, oh, this is our guy who's playing at the World Cup.
And there he was, in Atlanta, lining up against the European champions at the World Cup. That's the kind of squad this was. Not assembled from Europe's elite academies, built from diaspora, from second divisions, from LinkedIn messages, from men who'd spent their careers being underestimated and were used to it. So, when Spain walked out for the opening game of this World Cup as one of the favorites to win the whole thing, what did Cape Verde have? They had a low block, a clear game plan, and a 40-year-old goalkeeper with 14 years of waiting behind him. Could a team built like this really hold Spain? Spain's starting lineup already had problems before Cape Verde touched the ball. Lamine Yamal wasn't fit to start. Nico Williams wasn't fit to start.
What changed Spain from being a passing team to being a dynamic team that won the European Championships? Two players that could run with the ball. Nico Williams, who was unbelievable in that tournament, and obviously Yamal. And they weren't playing today, and they probably aren't going to be at their best for the next couple of games until they're fully fit.
The two players who made Spain terrifying at Euro 2024, the two wingers who created space, pulled defenders out of shape, and gave the team its directness, were both on the bench. Instead, De La Fuente started Ferran Torres on the right, Gavi on the left, Oyarzabal through the middle.
I mean, this attack here is useless. Gavi, Oyarzabal, Ferran Torres as a front three is one of the most useless attacks in the World Cup so far, by a mile.
It was a front three without natural width, without pace in behind, and without the unpredictability that makes Spain genuinely difficult to stop. Cape Verde set up in a low block. Their shape was compact and disciplined. Wingers tracked all the way back to help the fullbacks, which meant Spain couldn't find space down the channels.
Cape Verde defensively were incredible. They saved absolutely everything. They were blocking everything coming into the box. They were in that low block where Spain just couldn't play through them. They couldn't play around them. They were resorting to crosses to Oyarzabal. And the defenders were so comfortable. Who were the centre-backs' names?
Every time a Spanish player received in a wide area, 2 or 3 bodies were already there. The only option was to pass back, reset and try again. So Spain circulated the ball, sideways, backwards, across, back to the goalkeeper. Lots of passes, very little progress. 23 minutes into the game. Oyarzabal, Spain's centre-forward, still hadn't touched the ball. Their own striker, invisible.
How can you be the world champions and when you go to the first hydration break after 22 and a half minutes, 23 minutes, you have all this possession, your centre forward, Oyarzabal, has not touched the ball? I mean, that's incredible. I mean, if I hadn't touched the ball in a match, or Robbo, after 22 or 23 minutes.
The structure Cape Verde built made it impossible to play into him, and he wasn't making the runs to threaten the space in behind. The ball just kept going around him.
They didn't get enough balls into the box. They don't look to play it into him because there's probably a holding midfield player. He's up against 2. But it also says a lot about the centre forward. He should be trying to make little runs in behind at times, just to threaten the space in between the 2 centre halves and get in behind. But they don't even look for that pass and they don't look for that run.
Then the chances started coming. Cucurella broke off the sideline, played a ball across goal, and Ferran Torres got his shot away. It hit the crossbar. The rebound dropped back into the box, stopped. Spain kept pressing. Headers cleared. Close range efforts blocked. A corner played across the face of goal that somehow stayed out. Vozinha dealt with everything that reached him. And what didn't reach him, his defenders put their bodies in front of.
When you know you've got a goalkeeper you can trust behind you, when you're that last line of defense, when you're playing in that back line, and someone makes a mistake, which is always going to happen as players, and then your keeper comes and pulls a big save, and then another big save, that only just adds more confidence and belief to you as a back line, as your defenders, that this is going to be our day.
7 saves across the 90 minutes.
27 shots on Vozinha's goal, 7 of them on target. Vozinha was a man possessed. You've already touched on him at the age of 40.
But here's what makes those saves different from a goalkeeper having a lucky afternoon. Vozinha's positioning made most of them look almost expected, because Cape Verde's shape was forcing shots from exactly the areas he'd prepared for. The structure funneled Spain into low probability angles, 25 to 30 yard efforts, and central blocks with bodies in the way. So when the shot came, Vozinha was already there, already set, already reading it. That wasn't luck. That was a goalkeeper who'd play this game for 2 decades, knowing exactly where to stand. The frustration built visibly. Spain's passing got slower.
You knew that Spain were going to carry all of the possession. What was really concerning for me from the Spanish perspective is how deliberate and slow the possession was, and it's so slow, and it's moving sideways and back and sideways again.
The decision-making got rushed. Lamine Yamal came on in the 71st minute, and 3 Cape Verde defenders immediately surrounded him. He had moments. Spain looked briefly more dangerous, but the shape held.
Lamine Yamal, their superstar teenager, he came off the bench for the Spanish. It was surprising that he'd actually started as a substitute. He livened things up a little bit, but Cape Verde absolutely defiant and brilliant.
With 5 minutes left, Cape Verde won a corner. A header glanced just wide of Unai Simon's post. The crowd in Atlanta roared for the team in the wrong half. The final whistle went, and for a moment nobody moved. Spanish players stood with their hands on their hips, staring at the pitch like they were waiting for someone to explain what had just happened. A team that hadn't lost a game in over 30 matches, joint favourites to lift the trophy in a few weeks, had just drawn 0-0 with a country most people couldn't find on a map before this tournament.
Cape Verde, the distance between them and Spain in the world rankings, and the fact that they came out there, played without fear, and they got the point that they needed, I think is commendable, especially when you consider that almost all the players, at least half the players.
The betting markets moved immediately. Spain dropped from joint favourites to second favourites overnight. One performance by one goalkeeper in one group stage game, and the whole tournament picture shifted.
What a performance. You might be playing in the second division of the Portuguese league, but trust me, I feel sorry because you're not younger and maybe teams can't get you. But my brother, you've just put, like, this is going to be a performance that we're going to think of for years to come. This is going to be a performance. Oh, yo, do you remember this performance from Vozinha, Cape Verde against Spain? It will come down to you. What an incredible MVP performance.
Vozinha was near his goal line when the whistle blew. He didn't sprint forward, didn't start celebrating immediately. He stood there, and then it hit him, and he was overcome. Tears.
I cry because I grew up with my grandparents, and unfortunately they are not here. They died a few years before, and they was everything for me. They give everything for me, for my life, and also because my mom, she didn't manage to be here because
14 years of early mornings, of training sessions in half-empty stadiums, of playing second division football in Portugal while the world watched other goalkeepers at Champions League finals. All of it accumulated and came out at once on the biggest pitch he'd ever stood on. Spain had chances, no question. The XG numbers were real. The crossbar was real. The blocked efforts were real. De La Fuente's tactical decisions made it harder than it needed to be though. No changes until the 71st minute, even as his front three struggled to create anything meaningful. When Yamal finally came on, Spain attacked predominantly down the left, the side where Cape Verde had their most bodies, and repeatedly passed over opportunities to find Yamal in space on the right. A manager who won Euro 2024 looked for 90 minutes like someone who hadn't adapted to what was standing in front of him.
Sometimes you need to adapt and adjust depending on the opposition you play, because they had 9 men behind the ball every single time, Cape Verde. They could not pass through that. They couldn't play through them, Spain, and it was so disappointing to see.
Manager Babista had done the opposite. His defensive blueprint worked exactly as drawn up. Every player knew their position. Every block was earned, not scrambled for. Cape Verde didn't just absorb pressure and hope for the best. They executed a structured plan against the European champions and never deviated from it. Not when Yamal came on. Not in the final minutes, when Spain threw bodies forward. Not once. Yes, Spain went on to win the World Cup in 2010 after losing their opener to Switzerland. History gives context, but history doesn't erase the image of a 40-year-old goalkeeper crying at the final whistle in Atlanta, or the story of how he got there, or what it meant to 530,000 people watching from a small island nation in the Atlantic. A squad found on LinkedIn and in Portuguese second divisions, playing in their first ever World Cup game. held the European champions scoreless for 90 minutes. That's not a footnote, that's the whole story. Football gives you moments like this sometimes. A 40-year-old goalkeeper, £40,000 transfer value, second division club, 14 years of waiting, and one night on the biggest stage in the sport. That's Vozinha. That's Cape Verde. If you want more stories like this one, subscribe to the channel and watch for the next video for more from this World Cup.